Let's just quickly remember what we said last time. Last time we were talking about Spain. We're here in chapter 21, the absolute monarchy or the age of absolutism. Who can just tell me what do we mean by absolute monarchy? What is a monarchy? King, queen, what else? Alright. What do we mean by absolute monarchy? The kind of dictatorship, right? Okay. The rule by one person, alright? And this one person, as we just said in the second slide, is the one who can control every aspect of his people's life. And we talked about the story of Spain and how Spain got unified between Ferdinand and Isabella when they got married, and they unified the land and they decided together to fight the Muslims. They drove the Muslims out of their land, and later on they had a son, Charles V, who was inherited everything from his parents. Later on, what did Charles V decided to do?
To be a monk.
Exactly, to be a monk, so he quit the political life. And his son, consequently, Philip II, received everything, got inherited everything. Not only the Spanish land and the Spanish position outside, right, but also the Portuguese and their positions outside the continent, because he was the nephew of the king of Portugal at that time. We also talked about the amount of wealth he had, and we said also that in his reign, Spain became the strongest and the most richest in the world. But then we said that he was truly devoted to his Christianity, mainly to his Catholicism. So he decided to consider himself as a defender of Catholicism. And at that time, Protestantism was growing actually in UK. So he decided to fight UK. And that was a mistake because he lost and he suffered a humiliating defeat. He couldn't even sink one single ship actually for the British. Now, we also talked about the Spanish Golden Age and how it was reflected in art and culture. And we mentioned certain kinds of figures that we say, certain people, El Greco, Velázquez, and we don't want actually to talk about the techniques they use in their paintings. Again, it's not my interest. At the end of the day, we're doing history here. Now, we talked also about the novelists, and we mentioned actually Miguel de Cervantes and how he changed the idea of the novel from previous way to the current, the modern type of novels as we know it today. So we owe him. He just made his famous novel about Don Quixote or Don Quixote, according to the pronunciation of the Spanish, it's Don Quixote. And it was a story about somebody who got sick of the world at that time because the world was starting to become materialistic world. Okay, more into money and financial issues. Remember that period of time was reflecting the policy of mercantilism, which is based on the principle of wealth as a source of power. Now, then we move to talk about the consequences of the loss against the English and also the consequences of the leading of his country. Philip II started to spend a lot of money financing his wars. He started to borrow a lot of money to finance his wars from other countries. More money was also in the hand of the ordinary people, as we mentioned in last chapter. So this has caused inflation. He started to raise taxes on people who was supposed to pay the tax. Only the lower class people. What about the higher class people? They were exempted. That was kind of social inequality. So the people were upset, and that was the beginning of the decline of the Spanish Empire at that time. The chance was already given to certain countries that were occupied by the Spanish. The first country that exploited the chance to separate and regain independence was Netherlands. It wasn't the same as we know it today. One country was different areas actually who got unified together under the name of the United Provinces of Netherlands. And United Provinces of Netherlands was a country, a unique country at that time, in the sense that it was different from all other countries around the world. First of all, it was based on republics and not monarchies. It had also an elected president or governor for each province, which was a form of democracy at that time. And as well as they had religious intolerance. This religious intolerance actually brought kind of stability to the government, while the rest of governments in Europe were suffering from the political and religious instability due to the problems between Protestants and the Catholics. That was the only country that had actually enjoyed, let me say, the political stability coming from or as a result of the religious stability. Everybody was free to worship his or her God the way he or she wants. This actually made the Netherlands flourish and start their golden age. This is why by the 1600s, Netherlands became the center of the European art. As we just mentioned about certain figures in the history of the golden age of Spanish, again, we have some also figures related to the golden age of Netherlands, like Rembrandt and Vermeer. Again, I don't care for the technique they use in their paintings, just remember the name. And then when it comes to trading, also they flourished to become the leader in trading in the world. They control the leader, the trading in the world. They started actually to make worldwide trading empire, and they started actually to use methods that are today still used actually to make a lot of profit, disregarding the fact that this method we're going to talk about now was unethical, and still actually is unethical. Look at this. Most of the merchants at that time, to make more profit, used actually to buy, for example, the item that is really demanded a lot in the market. Buy it all from the market and then keep it in the stores. So the demand will grow even more because there is a shortage of this item in the market. Right? So you will keep it in the stores until the demand reaches its peak. Then they will just introduce it to the market again, but then they will raise the price. As long as people are really in need for this item, like a grain, for example, which is needed for the bread, the food, the dietary. So then you can just sell it in any price you want because the demand is very high, and then you can make a lot of money. Making a lot of money, trading with everybody nearly in the world, making a trading empire, made them actually own the largest trading fleet in the world with more than 4,800 ships at that time. Imagine. Now, later, they replaced the Italians as the European banker and control the spice trade. Remember in term 1 when we talked about how the Italian used to control the spice trade that used to come from India to the Arabs, from the Arabs through the Mediterranean to the Italian, and then the Italian to the rest of Northern Europeans. Now they are replaced by the Dutch. Guys, last slide is, to sum it up, we can say what makes it even worse for the people at that time, not only having an absolute monarch, but those monarchs actually, as we just started by saying that they already exploit the fact that feudalism was declining and the church power was declining, they also started to fool people by trying to convince them that being an absolute monarch is a divine right. Today, for example, we say Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are three divine religions. What do we mean by divine religions? Diyanat Samawiyya. So they are admitted, they are coming from God. This is what we say. The word divine refers to a religion that is coming from God. Okay. Now, when we say this is a divine right, it means that being a monarch, an absolute monarch, is a right that is given to me as a monarch by God. So, as if you're saying, it is this monarch that represents God on earth. So, if I convince people that my position is being granted to me by God, it means don't talk to me about election. You don't even have to argue, okay, with me being the one and the only one having all the authority. Because this is given to me by God. Okay? So they tried to fool people by this. They tried actually to justify their, their acting as, as absolute monarchs by trying to relate this position to God, as if God needs representatives on earth. But anyway, so guys, this crisis that took place at that time, and I refer to crisis because most of these absolute monarchs started to spend the money of their countries and led their countries to the declination. This is why this crisis all led to the 17th century period, actually, that witnessed a lot of revolutions. One of them is the one that we're going to study about next week, the French famous revolution that later on was considered as the basis for the human rights that we know them today. Alright, so this is it. Can just stop it.